Hey guys, it's Jessica from Peace Love Books, and today I'm here with my August wrap-up. This is the least amount I've read in a very, very long time. I have 7 books to talk about, and the beginning of the month I only read 9, so this month I've read 16 books, and I've always read over 20 a month. Work has been crazy. I went on 2 trips, and that was like a week and a half solid of not reading, so I'm trying not to be disappointed in myself because I read so much all the time and I feel like my reading has really slowed down. And I did do 3 rereads this month for different things, so I technically read 13 new books, and it's just hard keeping up with reading and giving the recommendations I want to give. So hopefully September is going to pick back up. I am in the middle of 2 books right now though, and I've technically finished one this morning, but I'm counting it. It's the first today. I'm counting it on my August wrap up. So I'll probably finish the other one tomorrow and hopefully get through the other audiobook I'm listening to, but you guys don't care. But I just feel like I am not reading as much as I want to, and it makes me sad. But work has been super busy and I don't have as much audiobook listening time because I've realized I can't really listen and do other tasks that take brain power, because then I will not listen to my audiobook. So I can do it while I'm like doing a puzzle or crocheting or mowing the lawn or running or walking or doing the dishes or cleaning, but nothing where I have to like read. I cannot listen to an audiobook at the same time. So long story short, I've only have 7 books to share with you. We'll go ahead and get to the books that I read in the second half of the month. I will link down below my first half month wrap up for you, but the first book that I finished took me a long time to read because I read it at the beginning of before I left for my trip. So this took me almost a week and a half to read because I was traveling while I was reading it. But it was a really good book to read while I was traveling because I feel like it was easy to pick back up and I didn't feel like I forgot a lot. It is Bonded by Thorns by Elizabeth Helen, which they are actually sisters who write together, and this is a Beauty and the Beast wide shoes, and I knew that it was super popular. It was in the top on Amazon and I was very excited to read it, and I gave it 4 stars. So the heroine starts out, she works for a bookstore in her small town, and people think her dad's crazy because her mom went missing and her dad says like the fairies took her, and so he always is going on these adventures to try to find the mom, and people think she's crazy, and she's been in this really horrible relationship with this guy who definitely uses her. He went off to college and wanted a break from her. Every time he's back he wants them to be together, and so one time she hears her dad like went missing in the woods, so she's like, I have to go find him. Beauty and the Beast kind of style. He was actually taken captive by these 4 princes who are cursed, and they turn into beasts at night, and they will break the curse if they find their one true love. They're like fated mate. So she ends up swapping her life for her father's, and so he gets to leave and she stays, and she is now in their castle and trying to figure things out. And I really had a fun time with this. I do think that there were some slow parts. It's hard to explain like why this wasn't a full 5-star. Maybe it's because I spent a long time reading it, but I really did enjoy the story and I did enjoy the relationships. I do think another character is going to be part of the like group that she's with, so I think she has 5 mates, which is also, I don't know how I feel like the authors have a viral TikTok about a mate of hers that hasn't happened yet, and it's in this series, so they spoiled something for like later in the series to go viral, so I know that's gonna happen, so that kind of like changes things for me. But I did enjoy the thing that was revealed at the end. The book is so pretty too. My friend Sarah got this for me for my birthday. I though read it on my Kindle, and I'm definitely going to continue on the series. A really fun why choose romance, that's Beauty and the Beast. So there wasn't like a ton that like she did, but the heroes are fun and I'm excited to see them develop more individually throughout the series. Then I read Sky O'Malley by Bertrand Small. This one is crazy. I gave it 4 stars because I loved the beginning. The beginning was absolutely crazy. I have a reading vlog all for this. I was so into this plot. It just went a million different places so quickly. It's very fast paced, really fun. She goes through 4 different marriages until she finally has her HEA at the end, and she is a really strong-willed heroine, and I really love that about her. And it's a time period though where you're like 13, you're married off, you have no rights, but her dad saw her potential. She's very smart, very business savvy. She took over her dad's company, but then like she's a pirate at one point, she gets kidnapped by people, she gets amnesia. It is crazy. But the second half of the book is all about her political intrigue with Queen Elizabeth and going head to head with the Queen and being taken to the Tower of London and trying to get out of that. So I don't love political intrigue. I'm not that into it, and it just like was her being like held captive for months, and I wanted more action in that second half, so I gave it 4 stars. But this felt very much like a soulmates romance where she was destined to be with Niall from the beginning. It was very insta-love in the beginning, but they're instantly ripped apart and spend their entire lives trying to make their ways back to each other. So I feel like this was like Outlander and Game of Thrones mixed together, and I'm excited for the show, which is going to be a show on Apple TV. So really enjoy this one. Already ordered book 2, which should be coming in the mail today. So highly recommend checking this out if you haven't yet. Then I listened to the audiobook of The Wolf and the Wildflower for Ravished by Romance, which is the book club I run with Lacey, and this one I gave a 4-star. I feel like I had just very solid reads this month for the second half. So 4 and 5-star reads for me. I don't think I had anything below, actually. 4 or 5 stars for the second half of the month. So this one is a historical romance, and I'm definitely in a very historical romance mood now, especially that we're going to fall. I did download some on my Hoopla too, and there's some paperbacks that I want to read. So this one is the hero was lost in the wilderness for 10 years and was like living with wolves. He was like 17, 18 when he got lost, and so now he's back, and his parents are like, he is crazy now. Like, he has gone insane, and he is basically animalistic. So he's just having a really hard time integrating into society because he's been alone for 10 years living with wolves. So the heroine has been living her whole life as a man. Her mother was pregnant, and it was a really horrible pregnancy, and the doctor said if you get pregnant again, you're gonna die. So she knows her husband's gonna want her to have a boy. So she says it's a boy, and has raised her daughter as a son her whole life. So she hasn't been able to do things men can do in society. She can go to college, she can have a career, and so she's really into psychology with her father. And so they are hired by the Duke's mom to like evaluate him and try to integrate him into society. The hero instantly knows she's a woman by her scent. I loved that so much, and so he will only trust her, and he wants her to be around, and so they start falling in love, and they will do anything to be with each other. And I loved the sacrifices they were willing to make to be together, falling in love, and her trying to decide, do I want to give up all my rights in order to be a woman? But she really does think about what it would be like to be a woman in society versus what she's been growing up being. So I really enjoyed this one. I do think that it was just a little slow, and it did feel kind of insta-love, so I did give it 4 stars. I would have liked a little bit more picked up in the plot, but it's really fun having like a wild hero and him opening up to her about what happened to him. So I really enjoyed this one. Then I did read Anchor of Secrets because I really wanted to read my arc of book 3 that came out. So I reread Legacy of Shadows at the beginning of the month, and then I reread this one, and this one was a 4.5 stars for me, rounded up to 5. I think that this book is one of the best in the series, and the series is just so action-packed, and this one specifically really delved into the relationships of the characters. So this is a Why Choose Paranormal Romance. She had no idea that magic existed. She was in a very abusive household. Her childhood best friend came to rescue her and take him off to this mansion he lives in with his 4 friends, and it just so happens that they are all part of a bond, and she is their mate. So they are all different beings, which I won't spoil what they are, but we have different paranormal beings that they are, and 2 of them are brothers that have to deal with a lot of turmoil over what happened with their family. So their relationship is definitely delved into, and they need to agree to like get over the past kind of thing. And there's one hero that's super damaged, that thinks he's never gonna be good enough, thinks he's a monster, and she's falling for all of them. And I really love the second one, and there's definitely enough action in here to lead into like all the action in book 3. So 4.5, I really love this series. Then I just did a vlog rereading Devil of Dublin by B.B. Easton because I have a book box coming out with Dark and Quirky with 4 other content creators, and we all picked one of our favorite books that we wanted to see in the book box. And I chose Devil of Dublin because I don't think there's a single special edition of this book out, and I loved this book when I read it. So I reread it for that vlog and went through the whole cover process. So I showed different drafts of the cover we had until we got to the final draft. If you're interested in seeing that process, check it out down below. The box is on sale now if you want to purchase it, so I will link that down below as well. And it's gonna be hardback, it's gonna have end pages and sprayed edges, and it's gonna be so pretty, and I'm obsessed with the cover that we came up with. This one is about basically a soulmates romance. They meet when they're children, and she comes back to Ireland every year to see him, really to see family, but she always wants to see him, and they meet behind the woods and play together. And he is from a very abusive household, and he's just very damaged. He doesn't have any parents, and we flash forward to when they're adults, when she is back in Ireland after many years with a fiance for her grandfather's funeral, and they meet, and her fiance is a bad person, so you don't care what happens to him. But then they are on the run from the mafia. So he is working for the mafia, he's a hitman for the mafia, and it is so good and very whimsical with their magic and their love, even though it's like not technically magic, but like there's a magical quality to their romance, which I really loved. 5 stars, love this one. Definitely check it out, and check out our book box. Then I probably actually own this one, but I read Deep Redemption by Tilly Cole, and I'm giving this one 4.5 stars. This is book 4 in the Hades Hangman series, and it is so cult. and I love a good cult romance, and I feel like this was the most cult we've had out of all of them. This one is about our hero, who is a specific character. I don't know if I want to spoil who he is because it's a surprise throughout the series, but he ends up being held captive by the cult and falls in love with the woman who's in the cell next to him, and I love that dynamic, and I really loved their romance, and she is the one that's being saved for their prophet to marry and like have sex with on their wedding day in front of everybody, and it's because she is like the most pretty woman who is like an abomination to mankind because she's so tempting and like she's the devil kind of thing. And so they're being held captive next to each other, and he's being beaten every single day by the cult for what he's done, and so they fall in love, and then they're trying to overthrow the cult, and he is connected to the motorcycle club in some way that's from the rest of the series. And so I really enjoyed this one. It did get really slow once they escaped the cult because they had to escape and then like come back, and I didn't love that chunk. I was a little bored, and then we had to like replay a scene from his perspective, and I was like, I don't like it when they show the same scene from someone else's perspective. I could care less when that happens. So probably 4.5 stars, but if I'm rounding it, I would round it down to 4. It's still a really good, strong romance, and I love seeing all the other characters, and I did almost cry on my walk listening to this when a certain thing happened with other characters near the end. Oh my god, it was so good. But I really do love this series so much and highly recommend it, but it's very, very, very dark. Just know that. Like, the cult is horrible, and there's a lot of bad things done, especially regarding children, by the cult, so just know that if you pick this book up, but I love this series. Okay, we are already to the end of this video, so the last book I have is Destiny of Ashes by Tessa Hale, and this one is book 3 in the series. It is coming out on, I think, the 5th or the 6th next week. I got to read the arc, that's why I reread the first 2 books, and this book was so good. I'm giving it 4.5 stars, just like book 2, and this one, it was so action-packed. Like, from the start, I was like, is this really happening on, like, page 10? Like, I loved her dynamic with all the heroes. She is supposed to anchor them, but she had shown no magic, but there is an inkling of magic in her, so it's her understanding her magic and falling for the guys, obviously, and the guys protecting her and giving themselves finally over to her and trusting themselves to be with her. And there's a lot of magic in here, and there's a lot of like battles in here. Of course, we have like the big culminating battle in these books, and this one was just so action-packed and goes by so fast. This whole series, all the books are less than 300 pages, so you read them very quickly, and I just loved it. So 4.5 stars for this one. I had such a fun time reading this series. It's probably my favorite series by her so far. I've read her entire first series, which was decent. I think that was more average, like 3.5. I read the first book of her second series, which I really enjoyed, so I have to finish that. And then this series, my favorite. So if you want Why Choose Paranormal Fated Mates with lots of action and discovering of magic and stuff like that, read this book. And those are the books that I read in the second half of August. Let me know what you've read and your thoughts on the books that I've read. I would love to hear. As always, thank you so much for watching, and have a good day. Bye.